Hey, I'm Mia Hemstad. I'm a wife, I'm a mom of 2 kids, and I'm a trauma-informed self-care coach. I also live with diagnosed PTSD and depression. I started sharing my mental wellness journey online in 2017 when I was diagnosed with postpartum depression and anxiety. And since then, I've heard from hundreds of women who all struggle with the same thing, putting ourselves last. This is a struggle that's keeping so many women burned out and unhappy, through no fault of our own, by the way. I've been working on my own healing as an abuse survivor since 2013. But when I became a mom, I really started to do the inner work of figuring out why I was putting myself last and how to start prioritizing myself for the first time in my life. This podcast is about sharing all of those lessons with you. So if you're interested in hearing honest stories, life advice, and inspiration that encourages you to make your health, happiness, and well-being a priority, then definitely stick around. Welcome to your No Longer Last journey. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the podcast. Today kicks off my 3-part series on how to thrive as a working mom. If you're new here, my name is Mia Hemstad, and I am a mom of 2 kids. They are elementary school age, but I started working from home when my son was only 5 months old. So I have been working as a mother without childcare, with very limited childcare, with full-time in-school kids, the whole kit and caboodle. I have been working for 8 years. So I have developed a lot of tips, mindset shifts, strategies, tools to help me be successful working as a mother. And just to give you some context for my career, I have a degree in communications media. I have worked in a variety of big and small companies and nonprofits. My career shifted halfway through the last 10 years to do mainly communications for policy work. I started in paid family leave policy work in the United States, and now I work in maternal mental health policy work. So the organization that I work for, the Maternal Mental Health Leadership Alliance, we basically advocate for federal money, tax dollars, your tax dollars, to fund resources and programs that support moms, new moms specifically, who are pregnant and postpartum and struggling with their mental health. I started this YouTube channel originally to talk about my experience with mental health and also my postpartum depression and anxiety experiences. So it's really amazing and cool that I get to now work on a systemic policy and public health level to help moms who are facing what I went through 8 years ago. So yeah, I'm now the communications director. I manage people underneath me. I collaborate with all the senior leaders at the organization. And so I do that. And then I also do this, where I run a podcast and a coaching business helping moms take better care of themselves. So I say all of this so that you know that I understand what it's like to have the pressures of a demanding career, to be an ambitious woman while raising kids, to have big dreams and goals for myself, but to also want to do that while not burning out and while enjoying my motherhood. So know that that's the place that I'm coming from as I give you these tips. And I will probably sound like a broken record here. If you've been a longtime listener, you are going to hear some tips that you might have heard before. But I thought, you know what? It's worth repeating because I think all of us could use reminders on how to take good care of ourselves. And everything that I'm going to be sharing in this next 3-part series is specifically around being a working mom. So if that sounds good to you, make sure you subscribe and leave me your comments and questions, because of course I want to make episodes that cater to you and your needs. And so if you have a question, I could probably make a podcast episode about it. So I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say. Okay, so thriving as a working mom, this first video, I wanted to focus on how to create a self-care routine that recharges you. So if you listened to last week's episode, I've already talked about the concept of everything in life either depleting you or replenishing you. There's very few things in life that are neutral. And when you move through your day with that awareness, you understand that you don't have this unlimited capacity. And this is something as an ambitious person that I really struggle with, because I am a very hard worker. I've been working hard since I was a child, really struggled with this idea that I'm human and have a limited amount of energy. And when I was in college, I was studying all day and then working on film sets all night and on the weekend. And so I was used to working 16-hour days. But once you have kids, your relationship to your own energy has to shift and change. You have to really adopt the mindset that your energy and your capacity are finite resources, and everything you do all day long is either replenishing or depleting that energy, especially when you're raising kids, because raising kids involves a lot of invisible labor, a lot of mental load, a lot of things that require energy, being emotionally available, soothing temper tantrums, helping your child navigate anxiety, stress, change, shifts, everything, right? And so when you go into this series with this mindset, this is the first thing I wanted to share with you, that you are not a machine. You are not a robot. You are a human being with limited capacity. Oftentimes when I'm coaching very ambitious women in my program, I have to give them the visual of a pie. You only have 100%. You only have one pie. You cannot give 100% to your fitness goals, 100% to your motherhood goals, 100% to your marriage goals, 100% to your career goals, 100% to your home organization, remodeling goals. There's only one 100%. So you have to decide in this season, in the next month, in the next 90 days, for the next year, which activity, which goal, which area of your life is going to get how much of that percentage, right? So like, for instance, for me, like my fitness goals are getting 20%. My motherhood is getting 50%. My career is getting probably 40%. Like, I'm just throwing out numbers here. I don't even have a pie. But what I'm trying to say to you is, when you realize that you only have 100% to give, you then come to the understanding that when you try to give 100% to every area of your life, that is a recipe for burnout. And when all of the areas of your life, if you tell me everything that you are focusing on and none of those things are replenishing you, like actively replenishing you, meaning activities or experiences or things that give you energy, then you are showing me that you are most definitely going to burn out. So go into this series with the mindset of, okay, I only have 100% to give. I'm a human being and I need to structure my life around making sure that I am replenishing alongside all the things I'm doing that are depleting my energy. Okay. So the first thing I want you to focus on is to create a self-care routine that fulfills your basic self-care needs. Okay, basic self-care is the first B in my 4B self-care framework. If you don't know what the 4B self-care framework is, I highly recommend that you download my free guide. I will link it in the show notes and description. But basic self-care, whenever somebody comes to me and they're burned out already or they're coming too close to burnout and they're like, I don't know where to begin, basic self-care is where you begin. It is first. It is the foundation upon which your entire life is built. And if you do not prioritize your basic self-care, you cannot show up for your family well. It is impossible. Trust me, I have tried and I have been hospitalized. I've almost fainted in a grocery store. I am so stubborn when it comes to thinking that I am, a machine and can just push through. No, you cannot push through. You have to practice basic self-care. There are 5 types of self-care in basic self-care, okay? Basic self-care is a category. Think of it as an umbrella. And underneath this umbrella, there are 5 types of basic self-care. Those are sleep, eating well, hydration, hygiene, and movement. Okay, I'm going to repeat this for you. Sleep, eating well, hydration, hygiene, and movement. Whenever you feel like life is very full, overwhelming, you have low energy, you have low capacity, come back to basic self-care. These 5 things: sleep, eating well, hydration, hygiene, and movement. You don't need to do the most extreme version of all 5 of these things, but you need to be touching base with each of these things, okay? And making small changes in every area here so that you can be replenishing yourself, because these are the basics that keep you healthy, happy, and whole at the baseline, okay? Without it, you will most definitely become sick, ill, burned out, chronically fatigued, etc. Trust me, I have been through this and so have a lot of my clients, and I have had to help them come out of that by starting with basic self-care. So I want to give an example of what that routine looks like for me. Maybe it can inspire you. So for me, sleep, I try to get to bed by 10:30 at the latest. How do I make sure that happens is my kids' bedtime needs to be on time. My kids need to be in bed by 8:30 because I know myself and I know that I need at least 2 hours from when they go to bed to when I go to bed, because that's how long it takes for me to unwind. So in order for that to happen, we have to work our way backwards and we have to have structure. So that means dinner is at 6. We all clean and tidy from like 6:45 to 7:30. They get in the shower at 7:30. They're brushing their teeth. They're getting their hair combed out, hair blow dried, teeth brushed, floss. By that point, I lay down with them for a few minutes. It's 8:30. So having a set routine for your day, especially your evening, is going to help the whole family function around that. So, I think it's funny when people go, well, you just need to set an alarm that reminds you to go to bed. For moms, it's way more complicated than that. I have to work the clock back all the way to dinner time, to make sure that dinner's happening on time, the kitchen's getting cleaned on time, everyone's getting showered on time, blah, 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 so that everyone's in bed on time. And that sounds like a lot, but it's a routine now that happens automatically. And it's something that I had to work on when I was working on improving my sleep. I love all the sleep hygiene tips. I could do a whole episode on how to have better sleep hygiene. But if your evening is not structured in a way that enables you to have the wind down time that you need as a mother, so that when you're going to bed, you're actually ready for bed, none of those sleep hygiene tips matter. That whole keep your phone out of your room, make sure the temperature is 68 Fahrenheit or cooler, make sure you're not too hot, all of those things are great. But if you don't have a routine and a structure that gets your kids to bed on time, none of that matters, okay? So I want you to think about your evening, and I want you to think about what happens, what's getting in the way of you being able to get to bed at 10:30, rather than thinking, what are the things I need? I need a white noise machine. I need a meditation app. I need to subscribe to this meditation. I need better pajamas. Before you think of all the things you're going to bring into your life, I first want you to think, what's getting in the way right now of me taking care of myself? What's getting in the way right now of me going to bed on time? And once you make that list, you're going to start working through those obstacles. And that's what's going to help you start to get to bed earlier. Yes, all those other things are great, the pajamas, the meditation, the sleep machine. But I find that too many mothers are focusing on what they can add in to improve their self-care, and they're completely neglecting that a lot of times what's getting in the way are obstacles, okay? Not things you need to purchase, but things you need to get rid of. Things you need to, like I like to say, decrease, delete, or delegate from your life, so that you can free up time, energy, and mental space for your self-care. So I feel like I could do a whole podcast episode just on that, but I hope that gives you some ideas. Eating well and hydration. Right now, I have a really big 32-ounce water bottle that I try to fill every morning. That's how I stay hydrated. And when it comes to eating well, what this means for me is eating in a way that gives me energy. So this comes down to the groceries that I order every week, the meals that I'm planning for myself to make sure that I'm eating lots of vegetables, lots of fruits, low gluten, no gluten, low dairy. That is how I eat well. And I, again, have routines and structures that help me make that happen. And when I wasn't eating well, I realized it's because I'm keeping a lot of gluten and dairy in the house. And so I have to make sure that I have limited those items and increase the amount of fruits and veggies that I buy, right? Or, making sure that I'm prepping fruit. Like yesterday, I cut up this huge watermelon and I filled the fridge with cubed watermelon. And my son was like, we're not going to eat all that right now, Mom. Why are you cutting up all that watermelon? Because every time I go in the fridge and want a snack, I want to be able to quickly grab a snack rather than grabbing a bag of chips or another pack of cookies. So that's an example of how building a routine around your self-care can make it easier to do that basic self-care. And then when it comes to hygiene, showering can be really challenging for a lot of people. For me, what really changed it was recognizing that I only have this one body and I need to show her love and respect. Taking a shower is how I do that, and brushing my teeth is how I do that. So instead of thinking I should shower, I should brush my teeth, I think I deserve to shower, I deserve to brush my teeth, I deserve to take care of this body that does so much for me. And that helped me a lot. But I honestly have to say, with every single kind of self-care, it's very individual. What motivates you to make it happen in your life is going to be different from what motivates me. And that's why coaching can be so key, because everyone is different. But hopefully, some of the things and experiences that I share, either from my personal life or from the clients I've worked with, can help you come up with some ideas. I call it finding your way in. You have to find your way in to the change that you want to see, because everyone's motivations are different. And then the last basic self-care is movement. For me, I went a lot of years without moving my body. I have struggled with chronic fatigue and chronic pain in the past. I still kind of do. But my movement has gotten so much better. I probably exercise 3 times a week, sometimes more. And the only way this started was by starting extremely small. So again, keeping things doable, not trying to go to the full 100% on something, allowing your movement practice to start just with 10 minutes of movement a day, maybe just some gentle yoga, then maybe some short walks. Then maybe you increase the duration of your walks or you go up an incline, make it more challenging. But finding your way in, for me, going on walks outside and listening to music is my way in. I love being outside. I hate being in gyms. I hate moving on the treadmill, but being outside I find really motivates me and excites me. And being able to listen to my music or a podcast or an audiobook really excites me and motivates me to go on a walk. So again, find your way in to making movement a habit. Before I move on to the next tip, I just want to emphasize that you're not going to get all of these basic self-care practices figured out in a week. I am finally doing really well on all of these, and it's taken me like 3 years. So please know that focusing on 1 to 2 at a time is really where it's at. That's the sweet spot. And after these things become easy for you to do, then you can add in one more and then another one and then another one. So really just take your time with it. This is not a race. Learn to live your life alongside improving your life. You don't need to wait to live until you've been quote unquote fully healed or, improved or actualized or realized. I really hate that mentality. So the second tip, this is really important, setting hard boundaries with work to protect your rest and your time with yourself and your family. So I have really struggled with this in the past. I work full time and I run this coaching business. It's really hard to find time to rest when I literally used to build this podcast on weekends and during nap times and after my kids went to bed. But then, as you can imagine, that eventually stopped working because I started to get really, really tired. So right now, what this looks like is Saturdays are sacred. On Saturdays, I'm not allowed to open my laptop. I'm not allowed to work. Saturdays are my spontaneity days. They are family day. They are the day we do family movie night. And honestly, they're very unstructured. It's kind of like we wake up as a family and we decide what we want to do that day. And I have found that to be very rejuvenating, very replenishing, because I have to live by such structure every day that it's such a relief to have a day where I don't have to be structured and organized. It's also the day when I have a lot of sweet treats and stuff. And that's also really important to me because again, I'm eating pretty well all the other days. So I try to make sure that I let myself have a sweet treat, that extra ice cream or cake or whatever I want to have on Saturday. But the only way that that's possible is by setting really hard boundaries and continuing to enforce them. So that means closing my laptop at 6, not checking my work email or Slack after hours, not responding to people outside of work hours. It's really challenging to do that, especially when I work from home. And so my work is my home, and I'm actually trying to change that moving into this new school year, etc. in September. But if you don't have boundaries with that, it's going to leak into every area of your life and start stealing your rest and stealing your opportunities for connecting with other parts of you that have nothing to do with work. And that's really important because you are more than your job. You are more than what you do. And when you have those hard boundaries with work, you're able to connect with who you are and what makes you happy, right? Not just the roles you fulfill and the things you can do for people, but who you are as a person and what brings you joy. And I really think that when we don't have boundaries with work, that is really where the burnout creeps in, because the burnout to me is the extinguishing of our inner light, our inner glow, what makes us radiate energy from the inside out, what makes us who we are. And when you set hard boundaries and enforce them, you are able to make space for what I like to call brilliant self-care, which is any activity or experience that lights you up, that protects that inner glow from becoming extinguished. So these are things that make you feel like you. So for me, that's dance, listening to music, hanging out with friends, cooking, baking, coloring, going to the beach, those experiences that keep my inner light protected so that I don't become burned out. But it wouldn't be possible, and I went through this. I didn't have time or space to do those things. And I was like, what's going on? And I was like, it's because you're working all the time, Mia. You don't really shut your laptop at 6. You're checking Slack at 10 p.m. You're working on Saturday. You're editing your podcast on Sunday. So there was no time for me to protect my brilliant self-care. So, I know I'm going to sound like a broken record, but genuinely, if you're feeling run down, instead of saying, what more do I need to add and why can't I make it happen? First, check in with your schedule and see what you need to decrease, delete, or delegate. Because you probably have way too much on your plate. And once you clear that, then your mind is able to go, ooh, I have a free afternoon. What do I want to do with it? I want to bake some cookies. Or, oh, I have a free morning tomorrow. Let me text my friend and see if she wants to get coffee. It's, as much as I want to give you all the activities and things that you could try, I know for a fact that so many moms have so much on our plates that the first step is actually the setting boundaries, the decrease, delete, delegate, right? The 3D boundary setting framework, because that is going to help you free up that time and energy. It's going to give you more space so that then you can add in the self-care, right? Then it's more possible, more doable. Otherwise, you're trying to cram more things into an already crammed schedule. And that's why I think so many moms are like me, as self-care just feels like one more thing to do. It just feels like one more thing that I have to fit into my busy schedule. And when I don't make it happen, it's one more thing that makes me feel like a failure. And I agree with you. And that's why we can't start with adding in the self-care. We have to start with freeing up our time and energy and our mental space. And we do that through boundaries. And that's why I always say that boundaries are the prerequisite to self-care. Self-care is not really possible without boundaries. So tip number 2 is set hard boundaries with work and even with family and anything else that's taking up a lot of your time and energy. The final tip for this video is practice the mindset shift that managing a career, a family, a home is naturally depleting. I mean, if you're somebody that's like, I get so much energy from taking care of everyone all the time, good for you. But if you are 99% of human beings, it probably is going to exhaust you a bit. Even if you find the work fulfilling, even if you find the work rewarding, which I do. Raising a family and living life is rewarding, fulfilling work, but it's also exhausting work. And it's work that, if I'm not careful, can consume every aspect of my life. And when I talk to my clients, they experience the same thing. They're just like, I love my kids. I love taking care of my family, but I feel like there's no time for me. And that's something I really want to emphasize to you right now, that you can love your family and love taking care of them and also be tired by it. Being tired and admitting that it makes you tired doesn't mean that you love them less. Like, 2 things can be true at the same time. I had a therapist, an incredible therapist, who would say that to me all the time. 2 things can be true at the same time. I can love taking care of my kids, and I can also acknowledge that it's exhausting, okay? I can love my work in maternal mental health policy, and I can also admit that it's exhausting working in the political landscape, working in the federal government, working in the United States political atmosphere, especially right now. I can acknowledge that being married comes with a lot of perks, and I can also acknowledge that it comes with a lot of frustration. We have to stop with this binary thinking that things are either or, when most things in life are and. Most things in life have 2 sides to the same coin. That's just normal. That's nature. That's life. And if you need another example, like a good one is the fact that, like, you could be out at the beach and the beach can give you so much energy and beauty and peace and serenity. The seagulls are, making their sound, and the waves are making their sounds, and the feeling of the sand, the sun, the smell of sunscreen. I love the smell of sunscreen. And all of these things can be bringing you so much joy and peace. And at the same time, the ocean can destroy things. It can drown people. It can capsize boats. The waves can get so big that it erodes shores and destroys houses. A hurricane can come through and destroy an entire island. I grew up on Guam, so this is where this example is coming from. But I just grew up witnessing how something can be both beautiful and dangerous. And that's life. And so you need to come into your day-to-day recognizing that whenever you feel resistance to taking care of yourself, whether it's taking a shower or finding the time to move your body, or making the effort to have a healthier snack, even if it means washing the fruit and cutting it up rather than grabbing the bag of cookies. When you feel resistance to taking the time to do that, and you think, I don't have time for this, I have so much to do, I have so much on my plate, I'm so stressed, I'm so tired, I want you to remind yourself that the work you do every day as a working mom is not replenishing you. And you need to do these things of showering, of moving your body, of hydrating, of eating well and making that healthy snack, of getting sleep and having wind down time. You need to do these things so that you can replenish yourself, because you are a member of your family too, not just the manager of it. And if you treat yourself like a machine or like a manager and not as a person and a member of your family, you are going to burn out, and you are going to constantly struggle with this mental war of whether or not you should shower, move your body, eat healthy, drink water, see your friends, make time for fun. It's always going to be a battle. Self-care is always going to be hard if you do not practice the mindset shift that everything that you do, managing a career, family, a home, these are naturally depleting responsibilities. And if you do not incorporate into your daily and weekly life naturally rejuvenating and replenishing activities, you are going to become irritable towards your loved ones, maybe even resentful. You might become extremely angry and frustrated that a lot of the labor of running a home and building your career and taking care of your kids falls on you. Self-care is more than just a nice to do thing. It's something that protects your heart from becoming resentful and bitter. And there's nothing that makes me more sad than a woman who in her old age has spent all her life raising a family and realizes in her old age that she's been carrying resentment and anger in her heart for decades. And now she is stuck with that pain and doesn't know where to put it. And I feel like I've seen a lot of women like that. And I just remember thinking, honestly, just sad for them, because I know that they just didn't know what to do with it. And I want us to be a new generation of mothers that does something about that, so that we can go into our old age feeling securely in who we are, feeling good about what we've done, the children we've raised, the homes we've built, the careers we've grown, and feeling like we didn't lose ourselves in the process. So please remember that taking care of yourself, even if it's something as simple as a 10-minute shower or a 10-minute walk around the block, it's about so much more than checking off a box. It's about self-preservation. It's about showing up for your loved ones as best as you possibly can. It's about moving into your old age being fully intact as a person and not losing your personhood in the process of everything that you're doing every single day. So that's all I have for you today. I want to thank you for spending time with me, and I'm looking forward to talking about the next tips for how to thrive as a working mom. It's all about how to build a system with your partner. This one is really good and really important, and I can't wait to share those tips with you. All right, I'll see you next week. Bye. This podcast was produced by Aura 17.